A viewer's letter, 3 lessons. Hello friends, today we're reading your letters. I'd like to share my story. Maybe someone will find it interesting or useful. I won't go deep into the general mechanics of relationships. Those are the same for everyone. But I'll try to highlight what was different each time. The motto, you might say, if you don't learn from someone else's experience, you'll learn from your own. This will be a story made of 3 sub-stories. The first one is about a certain type of woman. There was no name for it back then, but the type itself very much existed. Part 1. The dumpling on my head. I met my first one right after university. Maybe that's what saved me. I already had some experience with different kinds of relationships, some sense in my head, had already been burnt once or twice. Still, the assault was fierce, looking back. They got a dumpling on my head from a running jump. So thoroughly, in fact, that I soon started secretly eating chocolate and walnuts to keep up the pace and not disgrace the brotherhood of man. I figured it helped male stamina. I don't know. Whether it actually works or not, the brotherhood was not disgraced. Good man. Honestly, I was relieved when her time of the month came around, just to rest from the marathon of feminine desire. She wasn't opposed to continuing even then, 3 times a day if you please, but I categorically refused. She had a thing for doing it to Mеладзе songs, better than Rammstein, I suppose. She'd bring the tape recorder herself, hit play, and off we went. The late 90s. My ex before her was into Ivanushki International. Clouds in the sky. Lord have mercy. There's something about them, gentlemen, there really is. For a couple of years after, a certain part of my anatomy responded to Mеладзе songs like Pavlov's dog. Broad daylight, walking down the street, minding your own business, and suddenly from a kiosk, farewell, and that's it. Embarrassing in public. Try explaining that one. She was a teacher, younger than me, had a small son, just starting to talk. The boy's father she mentioned constantly, at relevant moments and irrelevant ones alike. A scoundrel, apparently. Drank and hit. How unexpected. And I even believed it, not just because of the abundance of small details in her stories that all fit together, but because of the way she told it. Not quite in condemnation, more like condemnation with a hint of pride. It's one thing to say, he was bad, leave it. But her story implied that alongside the impossibility of living with him, there had also been a great love, epic passions. I asked why she'd had a child with him then. She said she'd been trying to make a decent man out of him. The Lord's ways are inscrutable, and so is the female mind, prescribing as medicine the very thing you want to consume. The only trait from all her stories that I could vaguely classify as a virtue was his dark eyes. Apparently, from that list of qualities, strong jaw, muscular arms, dark eyes, that in certain women outweigh any number of flaws. That's when I realized there is no point in bouquets and grand gestures if something entirely different decides things in their world. The first careful hints toward matrimony came about 2 months in. Notice that, friends? 2 months. That seems to be the limit. First, she'd accidentally leave on the table a piece of paper where she'd been practicing her signature with my last name. Then she'd mentioned that her parents had started noticing she was away too often. Then she'd mentioned how her little son had called her brother Daddy. Then a student would supposedly run into her near my building and ask what she was doing there, and what was she supposed to say? Such transparent hints. She'd look at me with wide open lashes. What am I supposed to tell the girl? What if she sees me again? I accepted all these naive little manipulations with inward amusement. Oh, the irresponsibility, the brazenness of it. Then a funny thing happened. One morning, in a good mood, skipping steps on my way to work, I noticed a large puddle on the landing below. A puddle of something red and sticky, let's say that, with white cigarettes stuck in it. Strange. I jumped over it and kept running. At work, she called. She started either accusing me or marveling. "What kind of heartless beast are you? How could I be so cruel," she said, "to have so mercilessly beaten her ex-husband?" She'd mentioned before that the dark-eyed scoundrel knew about us, was watching, was jealous, and had promised to punish me severely at the first opportunity. I'd been glancing over my shoulder on dark paths in the evenings until I forgot. That's when he struck. Apparently, for courage, he'd had a drink, then mixed up the floors, and in the dead of night started cursing, kicking a door, and loudly challenging me to combat. On the landing one floor below mine, until the sleepy neighbor came out with a chair leg and gave him the full treatment. The dark-eyed man was convinced for some reason that the neighbor was me. Though I denied it, this Shakespearean turn of events apparently accelerated things, and soon I was given an ultimatum. The dumpling shop is closed and will reopen only upon the promise of a registry office visit. What brazen blackmail! I don't know if this happens to everyone, but major life turns make me go into a kind of hibernation. Before changing jobs, cities, or family plans, I go offline for a few days. I eat on autopilot, go through motions, just to eventually collapse on the couch and think. All energy goes to the head. If my previous plans led to the wrong result, there's an error somewhere in my settings. Find the error. Draft a new plan. So, that week, I went offline. Her boycott of the dumpling shop didn't trouble me much. A dumpling is a dumpling everywhere. But in my head, two operating systems collided. I'm a good person, therefore I shouldn't abandon a woman in love who is unwise. I genuinely believed then that you'd only do what she did out of love. And on the other side, this is absolutely not what I want. This is not right for me. My life, my interests. What are those? Dog dirt to be thrown aside for someone else's agenda? I hate being dragged somewhere against my will. Every instinct in me revolted. I only understood the full truth that it was all a cold performance much later. But at the time I decided, she only thinks she loves me. She really loves the dark-eyed one. He's constantly in her head. They were meeting behind my back. Her situation is desperate. A drowning person will grab any floating object. I'm good, reliable, calm, the opposite of him. But how many cases where the drowning person climbs on the rescuer's head and takes them down too? If she doesn't care about my life, I have no obligations. I didn't create her problems. I quit my job, moved to another city, and from that day acquired immunity to this type of woman and to all varieties of street corner and internet hustlers alike. I feel for them, but I feel for myself too. I can help if I choose to. I am not obligated. And the good life began. The best period of my life, writes the author. Part 2. The Wedding Night Vampire. About 3 years of good life later, the right nut found its way to the right bolt, and they got me the way Abdullah was taken in the old fortress, through the chimney, using smoke at maximum intensity. Now I know this method has a name: idealization and mirroring. When someone flatters you relentlessly and simply reflects your own desires back at you, watches what you like, what you think, and announces that they themselves have always lived and thought exactly that way. This works especially well on the, let's use a military term, on someone not yet battle tested in this particular arena. A man in that state thinks, how did this extraordinary luck fall on me? What kind of fool must her ex-husband have been to lose something like this? And the cooking, the pastries, the rolls. We moved in together, did a trial year, couldn't fault the woman, writes the author, maybe slightly too eager, too accommodating, and literally the next day after the wedding, not joking, the very next day, a transformation occurred. Like in From Dusk Till Dawn, when the girl suddenly sprouts fangs and bristles, hello, here I am, the real one. We were driving to the dacha, my head still splitting from the wedding, half listening to her talk, and then I start actually hearing what she's saying. Something about how she is essentially royalty and I am essentially a serf. What I will owe in marriage, what she won't owe at all, the intonations, the cadence, none of it hers. Like another person speaking through her mouth, from a script passed through an earpiece. Someone else's words coming out of her face. Future generations should understand this. When you talk to this type of woman, you are not talking to her. You are talking to the entire henhouse at once. Canned manipulation tactics, canned mannerisms, canned phrases. And there was no Instagram yet. I have no idea how they all developed this collective consciousness like ants or bees. I pulled over to the shoulder. I said, I'm turning this car around and we're going to the registry office to get a divorce. I meant it completely, and she knew I meant it. She went pale, started babbling that I'd misunderstood everything. Naturally, you misunderstood. She hadn't meant any of it like that. The fish slips off the hook. I believed her. I shouldn't have. I'd heard exactly what I'd heard. So I started contributing like a saint, voluntarily, without coercion, because it was the right thing, the honest thing. When our son was born, I worked 2.5 jobs, brought all the money home, kept a shared budget funded entirely by my deposits. Classic. Mine is mine, yours is ours, and ours is also mine. But life will force you to wise up. She started piling on. Come home near midnight. She's left dirty laundry for washing or clean laundry for ironing. We should split household duties equally, that's fair. I bent on that one. She insisted on taking turns getting up for the baby at night. Fair. The child gets sick. Organize everything, ferry him to doctors, get him admitted. Somewhere between the two jobs, the laundry, the night shifts, in photos from that period, my eyes are hollow and feverish, like a man with a disease. Then she announced that I was resting at work. I was resting at work, friends. While she slaved away at home in domestic servitude, I was apparently having a holiday at the office. I pulled over again, metaphorically. I said, let's switch. You go to work, I'll stay home. She blinked and started sputtering, but it was too late. I understood. Whoever pulls gets ridden. I quit one job, started pocketing the side income for strategic plans. No matter how much she cried about having nothing to wear, make do with what there is. I got her a job. Thought we'd be pulling the family cart together, just needed to nudge the lazy mare. Then came the cult, she found her people, she signed up for some Kazakh spiritual group packed with divorcees. They drank salted tea and explained to each other that they were the chosen ones of the creator of the universe. Corresponding with the creator. In a journal. I'm not joking. She came home from that circle with another ultimatum. She would not be working, that's beneath a goddess. Nothing around the house, also beneath a goddess. No more children, no more intimacy. A man must sleep 4 hours and work for his woman. And what does the woman owe? She wagged a finger, someone else's borrowed gesture, and said, a woman owes nothing to anyone. I told her exactly where to go, went offline for a week, and decided we are getting divorced. The way the marriage began is exactly how it ended, the same conversation. All the good you've done, all the care and love, they don't care. The more you give, the more ammunition you hand them. The divorce itself was standard, long, grinding. My advice, fight for every penny. Not because the penny matters, but so they don't think life is sweet. You'll even earn something resembling respect in their eyes. The kind of respect they understand, which means wariness. If every kopeck is a battle, eventually the interest in fighting fades. Otherwise, they'll never get off your neck. Part 3: The Third Child and the Rules. So here I was, and I thought, how did she fool me so thoroughly? Into an actual marriage? I am not a naive man. I would have sworn on my life she was telling the truth. Then I understood the secret. An adult human can lie, but doesn't enjoy it. There's a twitch in the eye, a microscopic pause, a contradiction in the details, something the subconscious catches and flags. But small children lie as naturally as breathing, because they have no concept of truth and falsehood yet. For them, everything on TV is equally part of fairyland. They don't feel like they're doing something wrong. It's the same with this type of woman. Yes, they're adults. They know they're lying. It simply carries no weight for them. When there is no conscience, there are no signs of wrongdoing. Perfectly honest face, even caught in the act. They just selecting words, the right keys for the right locks. They don't care what the words mean. Meaningless sounds to open the cave of sesame. That's all. With all lessons paid for in full, seemingly the story should end. But I have a particular setting inside me. I love children. I love them small. I love watching a human being wake up behind those clear eyes. Not everything about what they become depends on me, but what does depend on me, I'm not stingy with. So I decided. I wanted 3 children, and I will have 3 children. No woman is going to take that from me. I went looking online. My search terms were unusual. Never been married, no children but wants them, approximately my ex-wife's age. Found her. She was 35 by then. Also hadn't been able to find anyone. She's out there, but who's going to give her a chance at this point? She'd spent her summers dancing on buoys, and now it was winter. The cockroaches in her head were the size of a palm. You could hear them running around in there, rustling. But here I was. Since then, we've had 2 more children together, 3 daughters total. Smart, kind, beautiful, knock on wood, don't jinx it. I love them, and they love me. No registry office not at gunpoint. Not that I'm treating anyone badly or deceiving anyone. I'd get married tomorrow, on one condition. Pull the family card together equally or at least push from behind. Don't climb on the neck. They can't do that. That's not my fault. They're simply not cut out for marriage. Even living together proved impossible eventually. She moved out. I breathed. All her tricks we'd seen before. Deflect them before they clear the bushes. A man must. I don't must anything, and the less you get, the more you'll appreciate what you had. I'll find someone else. Wonderful. Good luck. You're not good enough. The wrong kind. Noted. Adjusting nothing. Not worth discussing, actually, because none of that is new. I only wanted to tell this for the sake of the children. If anyone thinks of trying something similar, know the danger. The dependency you develop is manageable. You are an adult, you have met difficulties before, but you are also putting children into dependency by law and by nature. Whatever you love, whatever they love, it will be used against both of you. Child support doesn't worry me much. I'd have spent it on the children anyway, not on myself. What matters is understanding. Her bad actions are her responsibility, not yours. If she steals from the children to spend on herself, that's her sin. If she tries to turn them against you, alienate them, harm them, that's hers too. Don't bring things to a crisis yourself. Hand it to the law. It's not that you failed to watch closely enough, or persuade hard enough, or save in time. She did something wrong. That's on her. In practice, never do anything at her request. Default answer is no. You decide what you give and when. She'll try to use the children to manipulate. The kids call asking for something expensive. Sorry kids, Dad's wallet said no. She'll try to take the children away. No one holds them. Any attempt at conditions means the offer is simply cancelled. She tried everything. Eventually, she disappeared with the children on a date I'd predicted. I blocked her and ignored all contact attempts for exactly 1 year. After a year, I offered the same arrangement as before. How I missed them, and how the children missed me. Hiding around corners to eavesdrop on conversations, drawing pictures right there to show me, proving they were good, worthy children. Please, don't leave. They thought I had left. The heart tore. But the mother cuckoo saw none of it, understood none of it. Do it again. If she wants to test, we'll repeat it. Whatever happens, it's better than being a father seen on his knees at a keyhole with cash or police begging for one look. Think 10 times before this. The experience is highly specific. You have to want it very badly to take it on in today's conditions. It's painful to watch other men humiliate themselves and get a wet rag across the face in return. Prepare to be humiliated? Then you'll be humiliated and get nothing for it. That's all I wanted to say.